Welcome. Namaste, beautiful souls. My name is Sadhana, and I am here today to share with you some more insights into the Wildwood Tarot. And as we continue this journey of seasons and animals and connections with the Wheel of the Year, I hope that you will send me your questions, that you will take some time to comment below, so this discussion can support everybody who's interested in working with this deck. This deck can be a little bit challenging to work with. And so what I've been offering in these step-by-step videos is just an opportunity to get a really good overview of the energy of all of the cards and then how to work with it in different ways. And I'll also be coming on a little bit later today, doing another one of the spreads from one of the books. And so you can check out that thumbnail. Today, for those of you that are watching, the playback is the 9th of March, 2021. And so you can look back to the live readings. And there's been quite a few of the spreads that I've been demoing. And I will do my best to go back and make sure everything is in the Wildwood playlist. So if you're coming back at another time and you want to review all of these videos, please go to the tab up at the top of my channel where it says playlists, or it's actually about here. And then you can refer to all of these videos. They'll all be grouped together. So today we're going to look at the solstices, the longest and shortest days of the year, the celebrations and the guardians that support the solstices. And I'm going to just review a few of the graphics that I've had in the previous videos just to make sure everybody's kind of at the same place and we're oriented and looking, we're looking at the deck from the same perspective. One of the questions that I've had, and it's a really smart question, so thank you for that, is that in looking at the Wheel of the Year, a lot of the time, Yule is at the top. And so the wheel is rotated 180 degrees from a lot of people's perspective. And so instead of having Beltane in the top left corner, a lot of people are, I'm just looking at it on my laptop, Samhain is often in the top left corner. And so if that is really awkward and challenging for you, then what I suggest you do is to actually redraw and rotate your wheel so it's more, it's more accessible, easier to work with. There's been a lot of really, really good questions, so I appreciate them. And perhaps in future videos, I can show the whole spread of the Wildwood Tarot, the whole Wheel of the Year according to the Wildwood, from the opposite perspective with Yule on the top. Okay. Hello, Danielle. Good morning and welcome. So let's get to the cards, and I will do my best to move through the review bit quickly. So these four cards here, there's four major arcana. The energy of these cards supports a quarter of the year. And today we're going to be looking at the top half of the year according to the Wildwood, which is where the sun is at its peak. So in the last video, we looked at the equinoxes. We looked at the two marks on either side of where my chopstick is here. And so today we're going to look up at the top half, which focuses on the energy of summer and the sun, the peak of the energy of sun, which is connected also to the energy of the world tree in this deck. And then the other half, which is Yule, which is the wanderer and the energy of the moon. And so I'm going to remove these two cards here, but I just wanted to, it's good to go back and go, okay, yeah, the shaman is connected with the air and with the spring. The seer is connected with the vessels and the fall. The thing about the Wildwood Tarot is, I'm just going to show you another. Hello, Neelam. Long time no see. I feel like it's been a while since you've been here. Let me go to which one? I've got quite a few overlays that I've created for this series. This one might help. So if you look on the left, the season of arrows, the shaman is connected with the season of arrows, which is spring. And in this deck, spring begins at February 1st. If you are, of course, in the Southern Hemisphere, spring begins August 1st. And one thing as a reader, it's really good to have in your notebook and your journal just the opposite dates handy in case you do happen to be reading for somebody in the opposite hemisphere that you're working with. Okay, so today we're going to look up at the top here with the season of bows, and specifically the summer solstice, which begins at May 1st in the Northern Hemisphere and begins at November 1st in the Southern Hemisphere, right? So this is the season. The summer season is over, and now in the Southern Hemisphere, we are in the season of, I get so mixed up when I'm doing this. In the Southern Hemisphere now, we are moving from spring to winter. I'm going to close my mouth because I'm going to get this turned around. I just really, really recommend that you have this, a little notebook next to you. I'll just show you mine here, my journal. And I've got a few different pages for the Wildwood. And I have the decks that are a little more challenging. I have little diagrams like this. And so if I'm working with a deck, especially if I'm working with a client who's on the other side of the world, I make sure that I have my little pictures here so I can quickly refer to, okay, oh, this is where you are, this is where I am. And that helps to inform me how to address the client as far as seasons go, especially if I'm working with a deck like this. So let's go to the energy at the top. We're going to start with the energy of summer, the energy of bows. So as I was saying, we are at the peak, right? So the peak of summer. And in addition, and I'm sorry if this repetition is too repetitive for some of you, the sun, so let's do this. The sun also has its own cycle. So over here is an equinox, and over here is an equinox. And the sun begins its journey at the spring equinox and slowly starts to grow, peaks at the summer solstice, and then begins to wane and is at its lowest energy at the autumnal equinox. And so when we're looking here at the summer solstice today, we're looking at the strongest energy of the sun. And so if you were doing a reading around this time, you would benefit from being aware that this solar energy is really strong and influencing other things. And I really believe, even if you're not working with this deck, right, that's a really it's a good thing to have in mind. The sun is at its peak. Now, depending where you are in the world, I live in the west coast of Canada. For me, this energy feels a little closer to August or late July, perhaps. And you can work with that and vary this energy. But what I'm talking about here is exactly how Mark, Ryan, and John Matthews discuss this in their book. I also refer to Alison Cross's book. So the other reference book, I have 3 of them, is A Year in the Wildwood. And Alison was on the team for the Greenwood and the Wildwood. And I have received a copy of the Greenwood Tarot, and eventually I will probably do something comparing the 2 decks. It's similar, but not the same. At the summer solstice, hello, Joseph, welcome, welcome. We have, do you remember I was talking about the energy of the guardians, the energy of the court cards? And we'll be working with these today in the readings as well, too. I just want to remove this picture so you can see all the cards. Okay. Actually, let's take that off as well too. Okay. That way you'll get to see everything. I hope you have your decks out as well too. What I was saying was that at the solstices and the equinox, we have the influence of both the queens and the knights. And according to Alison Cross's book, this is not necessarily so. She is very, very specific in describing the dates that are associated with each of the animals. And in the season of air, the queen and the knight both touch the equinox. Up here at the peak of the height of the sun, which is also connected to the time of noon. I haven't mentioned this, but if you are interested in getting really, really specific with timings in tarot, this would be noon, right? Midday, the ultimate, like the peak of the sun. So you can bring in not only time of day, time of season, time of, so 12 o'clock, peak of the summer season. I think there's one more thing you can bring in. It can get really, really specific if you're looking to pin down something and you like to work with very specific timings with the tarot. However, in the season of summer, we have moved out of the energy of bows, of the Queen of Bows. And so the Queen of Bows sits more over this side, and she is the symbol of fertility. This card with the hair is just so incredible. I love how the creators have brought in the energy of the moon. So we have, the strong lunar energy connected with the Queen of Bows. We also have the incredible fertility symbol of the hairs. It's a really, really beautiful card. But specifically at the summer solstice, the animal energy in this deck is the fox. And so when we look to the fox, a lot of us have familiarity with this animal. And there is something about, if you look here too, this is so clever. They have foxglove in this illustration. And if you think about the energy of foxglove, if you know something about plant medicine, it's digitalis. So this is what heart medication, perhaps chemically not now, but originally this is a heart medicine, right? Digitalis. And I love that foxglove is connected with the fox. It just kind of brings to me strength, medicine, energy of the heart space. And it takes me into a really beautiful, look how this fox's eyes are closed. Doesn't this remind you of your favorite loyal dog? Hi, Emily, welcome. And Andrew, thanks for joining me. There's just something about the connection of the foxglove and the fox that it speaks to me. There is also the energy of endurance, I think, associated with the fox. And we'll look at that in the horse as well down below. But I'm trying to bring in connections when we cross from top to bottom. And I love to speak about fox. Sometimes it really feels like a more magical quality to me. There is, some people really just go to the cunning energy of the fox, the cleverness, but I feel deeply connected to this creature. And so at the summer solstice in the Wildwood Tarot, the animal energy, the animal medicine is that of the fox. And there's something about the heart with this. If you also look here too, the ray of sun on this figure here is piercing closer to the anatomical heart than the energetic heart over on the left side of the body. And I think that's really kind of cool to bring in. So we have heart and we have heart. Something there that just really, really speaks to me. We were talking about inner and outer circles. So if you're familiar with the guidebook that comes with the Wildwood Tarot, and I hope that you have the large box, because if you have the small box, you don't get this incredible guidebook, which is really imperative to understanding of this deck. So in the circle here, in the wheel of the year circle, there are different associations with each of the inner hub, the inner circle, the outer circle. And the inner circle is connected to our three-dimensional experience, right? This worldly experience. The outer circle connects us to our connection with universal consciousness and something greater. And in this season only, the guardian cards are neither inner nor outer. They are both equally connected. And I think that's kind of beautiful. So here in the summer, we have the green man and the green woman. And these are the guardians of the summer solstice. They're the guardians of the element of bows at their peak. And I'm just going to go to the comments because I'm going to keep an eye if there's any questions. Look to the cauldrons. So there are symbols on each of the cauldrons that may connect to other cards in a reading. Of course, we have the divine feminine, the divine masculine energy, and I could be placing them this way as well too, right? The 3 comes before the 4. They are equally connected. So imagine they are standing facing each other. Their cauldrons are not separate, but connected. And I know that's a bit of a stretch. They're in the cauldron of the green woman, the Empress, is milk. You could also associate this with the lunar energy, with the moon, the milk with the connection to Mother and Earth and Gaia. And then also here, I was not familiar with this particular symbol, and I did a little bit of research some time ago as I was revisiting this deck. And when I was looking at the other pictures connected with the, what is the name? I'm going to have to look here. Sheila Nagig. And I don't know how that's pronounced in Gaelic or Celtic languages. Sheila Nagig. There is an oversized vulva, an oversized womb here. And this reminded me of a few different countries that I have been to around the world. And the there's just a lot of places. And I think too, in some countries, I'm thinking of Thailand and Indonesia, where we have a figure like this with an oversized male appendage as well too. So I'm surprised in the Celtic tradition, there isn't a pair to the Sheila Nagig. Anyway, just a little side rambling. What else? We can look to the kinds of leaves. If you're working across decks, we have fern, I believe fern and oak. And there's a myriad of other symbols that might connect you to other cards. You can see a little bit of swollen belly here, a hint of a pregnant belly. In the cauldron here of the green man, we have universal energy. We have solar energy. We have so there's so many words that energy goes by, right? So this is just representative of energy. This particular, in all 3 books, which really surprises me, they describe her as the fire aspect of the divine feminine. So they don't talk about this as the lunar and the solar. They talk about this as the fiery aspect of the divine feminine, and then this is they don't use that word, but the masculine aspect of the feminine energy. Okay, anything else I wanted to share? Oh, we have to do the 6s. Yes, we have to do the 6s. The other thing about this season is the incredible abundance. And in the 6 of bows, and remember that the 6s are connected with the equinoxes and the solstices. So the timing of, if you're working with timings, and these are at these crosses here, okay? And the 6 of bows, the keyword is actually abundance. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see some of these in case you don't have your own cards in front of you. In Allison's book, I believe, one of the things she mentions is the responsibility of those with abundance. So those who have an abundance of food, those who have an abundance of wisdom, those who have an abundance of, you fill in the blank. Part of that responsibility is to share it and to use it wisely and to, well, just think of some things like what are the responsibilities of abundance, right? It's not for hoarding. It's not for massively consuming quickly, for gorging. And I think that's a really beautiful thing to contemplate. And even when you are working with other cards in other RWS decks, when you have that sense of abundance, until I was restudying this book, I never really thought about that. You know, there is a responsibility of abundance. And maybe in the comments or in the chat, you can write down some thoughts on that. You know, what are some of the responsibilities of having a lot? So it's a kind of a beautiful, beautiful reflection. And then we see, I don't want to hop around too much, but we see the result of not acting on that in the season of stones. So in the winter, the 6 of stones is exploitation. And we see the consequences for not being responsible. And in this deck, they are very, very frank and very, very direct about the need to be more mindful and responsible in regards to our environment. So this is very, very cool that the energy of the 6 of bows and the 6 of stones is kind of like a polar opposite and sits opposite each other in the wheel of the year. Let's look at, Andrew says, law of exchange. I'll put these up. So one of the responsibilities is, or it's just a natural law, right, Andrea? The law of exchange. And then Emily says philanthropy and advocating for others. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. So these are the energies when you're working with June 21st or December 22nd kind of energy, depending on where you are. The green woman, the green man, the 6 of bows. And we also see, so when we shift in the Wildwood year, so when we shift to the Lammas, the Lughnasadh celebration, which we're going to look at in the next video, because we're going to look at the cross quarters, we also see the consequences of not being responsible for our abundance. And the other thing, too, is to dissect this word. Responsibility means the ability to respond. And that's, I really like that, that metaphor, that energy. Okay, so that's the top half of the wheel. Season is bows of fire. Guardians are the green man, the green woman. It sits at the peak of the solar energy. And then down at the other half, of course, we have the lunar energy. And the overarching inner hub of, try to do this as efficiently as I can. So the overarching inner hub energy, top of the season of bows is the world tree, and the season of stones is the wanderer. And again, this kind of makes sense that these would be opposite each other in the wheel of the year. And then the lunar energy. And I want to read you something from Allison's book that is quite incredible about this card. Look to the egg. So here in the season of winter, We are in the, again, just like we were in the summer, we're in the peak, the fullness, the full moon. And this is an egg. So there's this element of potential, element of creativity with the moon. And I have bookmarked it here for you. I just wanted to read one thing. She says, the ability to see the unusual, in the commonplace is the hallmark of creativity. The ability to see the unusual in the commonplace is the hallmark of creativity. And when I think of the energy of the moon, I'm often not reflecting upon creativity. But there are so many gifts of being in the darkness or the half darkness or the full darkness, and to see things from a different perspective. And there is an unusualness about people who thrive in this energy. And if you think about poets or other artists who thrive in the dark, or dancers who, who perform late at night, there's something about that quote that really resonated with me. The animal guardians for this season in the stones. So like up at the top, we are moving out of the Queen of Stones energy. But I need to leave this card here for another reason. And moving into the Knight, or in the midst of the Knight of Stones energy. And we have a wild horse. The wild horse speaks to physical health and physical wellness. And when I was reflecting on this card, I was thinking about the horses carrying all of the knights in the other tarot cards, and just the incredible stamina of this creature. They were, they weren't always a tame animal. They weren't always used as used by humans. And this is the only creature, this is the only animal guardian in this deck that that can be restrained by humans. So perhaps that's something that might come up in a reading around this time. And as I was saying, the 6 here, the energy of the 6 is a cautionary energy. It's one of deep reflection of, well, there's just so much disregard in this card. We have tools, we have farming tools that have been thrown down and not taken care of. We have hives that have either been not cared for or poorly cared for. We have a raging fire in the background, which could be the result of, it could be a natural cycle of life. It could also be something that has gone awry with the environment. So yeah, so just keep in mind as this card comes up that its opposite energy is this card. This is the time of stones. This is the time of winter, and this is the center of that energy. In the inner wheel, so in the 3D, this world energy of winter, the guardian is the hooded man, so the hermit. And I just love this painting by Will Worthington. It's incredibly beautiful. Familiar symbols, you can read this exactly like you would read an RWS. It's kind of interesting that we cannot see the face. I like the association of Yule with the holly and the berries on the garment. We have the lantern, and the hermit has arrived, or perhaps is stepping out of his cave. We see the door is closed here. We also have an association with the wren. If you have been following these videos, and if you have Allison's book, this is also a great resource. Just going to go back here. You can go through and connect all of the symbols in the deck. And so if the hooded man appears in a reading, one of the things you can do, and some of these are easier to connect than others. So she has a very convenient list here that says that the Page of Arrows is also found on the 9, the Hooded Man. And so one of the things I like to do when I'm working with this deck is to pay attention to the animals that show up and see if there's a message connecting this for any reason to the Page of Swords. Yeah, so very RWS kind of energy with this card, so you should have no problem with that one. The Outer Wheel Guardian is the 20th card. And you can see why I didn't want to remove the Queen here. So we have this strong bear energy in the suit of winter. And I really feel a sense of protection, a sense of moving inward. In both of these images, we have a cave and the bear is emerging or looking out of the cave in the Queen. And in the Judgment card, in the 20th card, we have the polar bear on top of the grave, on top of the tomb, almost as a protecting and guarding. They talk about an initiate being inside. So initiate is inside, processing and learning and integrating everything from various lessons, which also connects it very conveniently to this card. So you could think of and contemplate the energy of what it means to be inside the cave and the door is closed. And in this one, the door is open and perhaps the initiate is ready to emerge. We have the powerful energy of the Northern Lights. If you work with the tree energy, these happen to be U's, and there might be something that you want to bring in with this archway. And again, this is another powerful symbol. So to be connecting all of the pillars in the deck as you're working with the reading. You also in the sky have the Ursa Major up here. So this would not, if you are in the Southern Hemisphere, I'm not sure what would appear in your sky or where you see the, this is something for me to research, because I know that Ursa Major, the Big Dipper, the Big Bear constellation is in the northern sky. So that's something that I could, that I would like to look into, what actually appears. And I know this has been an issue, and the waxing and the waning crescent moons appear opposite as well to northern and southern hemispheres. So to be mindful of that. I know not everybody's reading for people on both sides of the equator, but it's kind of an interesting thing to reflect on. Let me just go to my notes here. The bear, the great bear. The universe, deep connection to the universe. One of the writers just says the universe has a long memory. It's kind of like that elephant energy. There's a real weight and yeah, I like the word weight, a groundedness, a connection to the earthiness in this particular suit, and all of the cards that are connected to this suit, the suit of stones. Okay, so do you have any other questions about this card? I think it's a very powerful card. They do not want this card to be one of judging oneself in any way. This is a card of moving to a next level, moving to a next step. It's definitely one of spiritual transformation. Yeah, so kind of beautiful. The cave looks inviting the Hermit. Yeah. All right, I'm just going to go back to me, to my face. So those are the energies of the solstices. So when we have the longest day of the year, when we have the shortest day of the year. And for me, it's depending on where I'm reading and who I'm reading with, there is a slight influence in how I adjust my thinking. And if I'm reading for somebody who is sharing the space with me and lives in the same area of the land, then there's a slight adjustment that I make. And if I'm reading for a friend who is in Sydney, Australia, then I'm going to do my best to make that adjustment as well too. And this can be a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun. And I think it really expands our awareness to become more aware of the cycles of energy, right? And that just to contemplate that I'm born in the summer in the Northern Hemisphere, and my astrological sun sign is Leo. And Anna, who's often in the chat with us here, she's born in the summer and she's a Sagittarius. And a lot of us have never occurred, to think that, oh yeah, Sag is associated with summer, just as are other signs on the 180 degrees opposite of that. So I think this is it's a gift to work with a deck like this, because we can only become more attuned to different lands and different energy and more sensitive to these cycles of time. And the reason I work with cycles and the reason I try to spend time every single month, at least some part of the month, with either the lunar energies or the solar energies, and is because I find that my own life tends to go a lot smoother if I am consciously working with those connections. Yeah. So thank you. Thanks for being here today. And I've got some other thumbnails up for future videos. And the next one will be a bit of a long journey. I'm going to go through the cross quarters all in one video, and then we'll see where we go from there. So I hope to see you all very soon. I will be back on doing some readings with one of the spreads in this deck later today. And let me know if you have any questions. Please comment below what you would like to see, if there's any future videos you would like to see in relation to this deck. And I'd be happy to put those together for you. Thanks again. See you soon.